He's not on Threads yet?
I don't see him. Joining us right now from The Athletic.
I beat him to something.
The apparently terrible at social media, Sam Amick. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, you gotta bring me along on this new. Is it a post Twitter age? Are we there yet?
This is amazing, listeners. Listen up. Sam Amick is on the Mount Rushmore of national NBA writers and reporters. This is a fact.
Yep.
And just because we get him locally every week, don't take it for granted. This is a big deal. We are live on the air showing Sam something that may very well very soon be his primary form of social media communication. Yes, Sam, Threads is Facebook via Instagram, which they own. It's their answer to Twitter. And there are still some bugs, no direct messages. I can't figure out the feed and all that, but your contemporaries, colleagues, whatever you want to call it, Chris Haynes, Shams, Adrian Wojnarowski, Spears, Sean Cunningham, are all on there. So I suggest you go snatch that name up before somebody else does.
I shall.
I just snatched the name up.
Did you?
Yes.
Yes.
So, Sam, if you want it, what's it going to cost you?
Please just start reporting like crazy Kings trades. Sam, I also want to talk to you about, but I should say, because we got to get into the interview here, but I very much enjoyed your, I don't know what you would call that, 4th of July extravaganza photos. Speaking of Instagram as well, looked like you had a good time.
We did. I would have invited you, Dave, but you never come, so I stopped inviting you.
A scoreboard for holidays spent with families. Carmichael Dave, 1. Sam, the Amick family came over for Easter. Sam, 0. Just facts.
Wow.
Absolute facts. That's fine. I don't blame him, by the way. What I have for you. Oh, yeah, Sam, Damian Lillard. How much of what's going on out there, in your opinion, and I always like to put you in a spot where you have to comment on your own industry, how much work is being done here for agents? And let me explain to the audience, because I know Sam understands exactly what I mean. Let's take a national reporter who has a very powerful agent or perhaps a general manager, and you've got all kinds of people angling for, in this case, Damian Lillard. And you go out and you do a report. Basically, it's like, well, sources say this guy's not going to play for this team, or he really wants to go there. You're doing a favor for an agent. You're doing a favor for a GM. This is that political posturing we talk about. Sam, do you see any of this going on in the world of Lillard reporting right now?
Yeah, I do. I admittedly cringe at the word favor.
Quid pro quo?
No. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm like always, I'm just going to speak for myself.
Sure.
Like I 100% have written that it would not be wise, or the message is that it would not be wise for a team to trade for a player of Lillard's caliber and with his contract, where he doesn't want to be there. And that the message is that that's not going to go well, and that he's a person of conviction, and who knows if he ever shows up. And I know that, you could easily counter that and say, okay, he has 4 years and $7 billion left on his contract, whatever it is. And he's going to play. But yeah, I mean, the posturing, I think what you're getting at is that, yes, the media is, to an extent being used as messengers right now, as, right as you guys called. I was reading ESPN's piece on it, where it's definitely Portland heavy. Mm-hmm. As a side note, that particular camp doesn't cooperate all that much with ESPN. And so you have a skew on the Portland side, I think, in some of the perspective. And that is what's happening right now, where it's like a lot of the messaging has been, buyer beware. If Dame doesn't want to be there, don't put an offer out. And then, Portland is trying to make sure it gets its message out as well.
Yeah, so kind of on that, where we are with this, Sam, I mean, it seems like Dame and his camp, for whatever, has made it open about the desire to be in Miami. But what about this situation where what might be best for the Blazers, or what might be best for Dame, is not best for the Blazers? How do the Blazers kind of reconcile all that?
Well, I mean, the first thing is, and why what's happening is happening. Everything we talked about is like, both sides are waiting to see what the third parties do, meaning all the different teams. So, if teams legitimately put, massive packages on the table that far exceed what the Heat are able to do or willing to do, then then the odds of the Blazers saying, okay, you know what, we're just going to do this, that they go up, even if Dame is upset. Now, the question is that we don't have the answer to is, what is everybody putting on the table? I do know for a fact that Miami is not sitting here saying, we know he wants to be here, but we really want him, so we're putting everything on the table. They're not. They're trying to hold on to Caleb Martin. They're trying to, if you think about the Heat, they would love to get Dame, but they have already seen a lot of high caliber minimum salary players go to Phoenix, go to other places, so like the idea of filling out their roster has gotten more and more challenging as this thing has taken some time already. And so they are, withholding assets. So it's just about what is everybody putting on the table, and then, what does Portland do from there?
Sam Amick with us. Based on some of the comments we're getting to, I want to go back real quick to that first question. I want to clarify too that, and we do love, Sam, to dive into sometimes the business of NBA reporting. I don't necessarily know that there's a moral issue with quid pro quo either. And what I mean by that is, I'll use myself since Sam's reputable. If Sam's a GM and Sam says, hey, I want this XYZ message put out, not in those terms, but gives me a leak that I know is going to benefit them PR wise, but is also news. And I put it out there technically as a media member. Yeah. Am I being used a little bit? Sure. Am I a pawn in the game? Yes, sure. But I'm reporting straight up news. And if down the road, that means that helps curry favor with those sources so that I can report trades, drafts, all that other stuff. Sam, I know it's a fine line there, but I don't see, as long as there's not deliberate misinformation put out there, I don't see a moral issue with that.
I hear you. I'm kind of just the wrong guy to talk to, because these days I kind of rage against. I mean,
I'm with you.
We can be real about it. There are times when stuff gets put out where I roll my eyes and I say, "Wow, you really like you?" And here's the thing that has to be said: like, just cut through everything. It's got to be the truth.
Yes. So
that is the problem. That's what the readers and the fans and the listeners deserve to hear. Like, yes, people, we give a SH about the truth. At least I do. A lot of people do. And it's got to, so, then it becomes, okay, was the truth exaggerated here to make one side look better? I don't love that. But that is, for me, obviously the kind of the end all be all. But put it this way, if Damian was behind the scenes saying, dude, I just want to hoop, like, I want to get this trade done. And then the agent was saying, like, hey, say he'll only go to Miami, do me a favor. And you did that anyway, that's you should be fired.
Agreed.
That's not happening. So, I mean, the truth is that, I mean, the question we don't have the answer to, I guess, is, will, since we're focusing on the Lillard situation, will Damian ultimately follow through on what he is saying now? I can't speak to that. Like, that part, sure, you can call BS and say, oh, you guys reported that he only played for Miami and that the teams would regret it if they got him and he didn't want to be there. And then 2 weeks later, he was in their jersey. Well, we can't speak to that part. This is the message that he's sending teams right now.
Do you know why? I know he's got a relationship with Bam Adebayo. I think they're buddies. Is it the Heat culture? Do you know why he has that preference for Miami?
It's I think a lot of things. You'd probably have to reverse engineer like the other teams that I don't think he's interested in playing for. Although, I mean, I will say, and this is mildly or slightly different reporting than what is out there, and I've already written this, but like, I don't know what percentage chance I put on it. Like, I do think there is a 5 to 10% chance that, like, if the Blazers won't do Miami, I think, that Dame could potentially be talked into somewhere else. I just don't know where that is right now. Like, like Boston, for example, it's been pretty well established that would be a tough hill to climb. But then, what if Jason Tatum is calling and saying, hey, I really want to play with you. And that is the kind of stuff that happens right now. Like, I think that, that's for down. but I don't know if that's where it helps to. Philadelphia, conversely, is just there's something about Philly that he appears to be against. I think that there's a bit of a West Coast bias, to be honest. I know that sounds funny because he wants Miami. He's a West Coast dude who sees Miami as a little bit different, and I think generally speaking is not trying to be on that coast. But again, that's right now.
I want to say Sam Amick joins us, like 100% stupid question here. I acknowledge it. I just wonder if anybody else has the question. I just want to get it out of the way. So dumb question incoming, but I'd never put it past him. Is there a world, because right now they're listed with 2 point guards in the backcourt. Is there a world, because it's also his hometown, where at some point, if Miami doesn't turn out, that we hear that Golden State's sniffing around?
For that one, I don't have a great sense other than to say, in the past, he had been known to be somewhat open to it, I would say.
Yeah.
But, and then I don't mind just because she clearly made some calls on this, kind of piggybacking on the reporting of Ramona Shelburne at ESPN. I mean, she indicated the other day that if the Warriors had waited and not done the Chris Paul trade, that she, it's her belief that Dame could have been an option there. I mean, I've been fairly close on this story, and that's not something I've been told, but I also didn't ask that specific question. But the Chris Paul thing, certainly makes it tougher because now you've got another massive salary in addition to Steph and Clay and Draymond. So, whereas who's taking Chris, it's just got more complicated.
Sure.
And I should know this, so apologies. I don't even know how quickly Chris can be flipped as far as the rules on that front. So it feels like that's off the table, but if the Chris thing hadn't happened, maybe that door would have been open.
Sam, obviously we talked a lot here about Dame. That seems to be the biggest story now, at least what his future is. But as far as what has happened already, what has jumped out to you? What has intrigued you the most about some of these guys that have flipped teams here during free agency?
I mean, it's just become a very strange time of year where years ago it was a long list of high profile free agents who just waited to get, the chance to pick their team. And then, you'd have a bunch of teams with cap space and we would track this stuff until mid-July because a lot of really good players were just available, and now, my goodness, within like 36 hours, if not less, most of the big names were off the boards. Now, part of that is because everybody still cheats and talks before, they're allowed to.
Right.
And that part is different. I mean, and not only that, a lot of the pomp and circumstance is gone of free agency where, remember the old days where Daryl Morey would be chasing every big free agent from Houston and they would, they'd darn near like set up carnivals for these guys and try to do, meetings and events that involved really extravagant stuff to get their attention. That stuff has kind of fallen by the wayside and it's become like free agency / just player movement by other means with some of these trades. And, but that's broadly speaking. More specifically, I don't know. I mean, my mind kind of goes to, I guess within that vein, like Houston being like the closest thing to a squad that added a bunch of stuff, but then we don't really know like where is that, like what are they and who are they and are they going to win it all? It's just, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, it's Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks on the Rockets. And I mean, the Grant Williams thing, I know I'm rambling trying to get to good answers here, but Grant Williams to Dallas, I actually like that move a lot. If the Mavericks get Matisse Thybulle, then those are two high caliber defenders that could help Kyrie Irving and Luka. So that's actually impact stuff. So a little bit all over the map, but always plenty to cover.
Sam Amick of The Athletic with us. Let's cover the Kings. The Kings in the offseason trade Rashawn Holmes and their draft pick for space. They extend Domantas Sabonis, pick up a couple second rounders, add apparently Chris Duarte, re-sign Harrison Barnes. I don't think I'm leaving anything out. Just
Sasha
Zenkov. Apologies. Thank you. All of that aside, 50,000 foot look. Is this what you wanted to see out of Monty McNair? Are those appropriate moves for a young 3 seed? How do you grade the offseason so far?
I mean, I actually like their offseason, although it's funny, and of all people, I'm gonna throw you under the bus here, Dave.
Uh-huh.
Like to hear you forget to add Vesenkov, I think is perfect, because there is part of me that, just from a PR standpoint, a framing standpoint, like, there's a world that exists where you started that question by saying, Sam, we all know the headline move, like, my God, they added the EuroLeague MVP,
right?
Sasha Vesenkov, and it's like, so for whatever reason, and you're not alone, and probably, honestly, lack of familiarity, in myself included, is like that move. If you ask me, from what I now know about the moves that are impact moves, that's the one. And so it's a question now of, is it going to be a hit or a miss? But what I love about it, because I've seen this story before, we've seen it not only in Sacramento but elsewhere, is you have an elite European player who appears comfortable playing overseas for his whole career, and then makes the choice to kind of shift and come. That kind of I'm expecting a very serious basketball player. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like here's a random hyperbolic example. The 2-time MVP and current champion Nikola Jokic acts as if, like, there's a world where Jokic never came to the league because he just didn't care about the NBA. But he was too good, and so that's why he's here. Now, that's the hyperbolic part, is putting him and Vesenkov in the same sentence, but like that thread and that storyline that we've seen before, I kind of love, because this is not, an American-born player that might have been expecting to be in the NBA from the time he was 8 years old, and probably is going to work hard, but maybe not hard enough. This is a guy that, like, I think could help a lot. So that's, and it's on a 3-year, $20 million deal. I like that addition, and so that's the fresh kind of addition. Harrison Barnes, I think we talked about it last week a little bit. I get it. Fans are a little bit down on Harrison with some of his playoff struggles, but one point that I'm going to keep making, and he can thank me later, is like the contract that they gave him. Forget about the financial figure. He went from taking up 20% of their cap previously to 12% of their cap on this contract, which has got to be said. It's an economical contract for what they're trying to do. The Sabonis thing is really important, because skepticism wise, I was still one of those people that thought to myself, like, what if the Kings struggled this year and it didn't live up to expectations, and maybe the vibe was a little strange because people wondered about Sabonis's forthcoming free agency, and then maybe disaster hits and they lose Sabonis, and now they've lost all the momentum of what they had going. Well, guess what? He's not going anywhere. So by and large, we could keep going, but I think they've had a good summer.
Sam, did it surprise you at all that they played Keegan? He played so well in these 2 games of the California Classic, but just as kind of an organizational decision to play him, now they're going to shut him down for Vegas. But what were your thoughts on that?
I love it, because it's just, it's a little bit old school. That used to happen more than it does now. I don't quite understand. I mean, I certainly understand the politics of the NBA and the power that players have, where they basically say, no, I'm too good for this now. But there's part of me that's like, wait, so just because you had a good rookie year, like you're not still trying to get better, and what you're too good to compete with these guys who are hungry and trying to get roster spots. And then it's like, I mean, I don't buy the, concern of injury fear, because you're either playing the game or you're not. And so I loved it, and he looked great. And I actually enjoyed, on our site, our guy Hunter Patterson had a good piece on Keegan, where, man, the perspective from Keegan's standpoint on how he's trying to get better. Luke Lauxie, a Kings assistant who was heading the summer league team, talking about Keegan, adding wiggle to his game. And he had a hell of a quote. I'm sure you guys saw it. It made me laugh, where he says that the last year Keegan was like, you want a Baskin Robbins and he's vanilla and it's still ice cream, so it tastes good. He's like, but this year, like, he's some flavor to it, some toppings to it. He's a better player, and kind of got me fired up to see if he can do this, post summer league. But I thought it was a good move and another thing that speaks well of the culture that they keep building.
Sam Amick joining. I'm sorry. I'm on. Are you seeing this photo? Are you seeing this story? Sorry, Sam. I'm putting you on the spot too, but this just came across about Victor Wembanyama's security and Britney Spears. No, it's not fair to anyone because I set it up like that, and you'll find out real quick. This is an incredibly strange yet incredibly not funny story. Britney Spears, according to TMZ, which I know, but also we all agree TMZ like doesn't ever get stuff wrong. TMZ, Britney Spears was allegedly assaulted Wednesday night in Vegas last night after a member of NBA phenom Victor Wembanyama's security backhanded her in the face, and she has filed a police report. What? This went down at Catch Restaurant in the Aria Hotel around 8:30. Brittany, along with her husband, Sam, and two others went to the restaurant for dinner. She was swarmed by fans, blah, blah, blah. And then it just goes on to give more details on that. So that is a story I'm sure we will see quite a bit of throughout the days. We're all waiting on Victor Wembanyama's debut. And to be clear, this is alleged. This is a member of his security team, et cetera, et cetera. But you and so many more, Sam, I guess, have some of your work cut out for you as well, friends. So when are you going to Summer League, by the way? Are you already there?
You should talk to your coworkers more, Dave.
He's in Vegas.
Oh, you are in Vegas. Oh, you know what? Hey, Sam, they told me that. Actually, I'll stand.
Well, and I'm only laughing because Jason and I had a robust negotiation about what time to come on today. I was trying to be self-aware about like I'll just say this much. Although I'm going to be, I'm not going to be here next Thursday, but if I was, you would not get as good of a version. This is the early Vegas version of Sam.
Because of all the spas and spa treatments and exercise you'll be doing down there?
Yes, indeed.
When you hang up the phone, because we're out of time, when you hang up the phone, do you immediately have to go do something else, or do you have at least a few minutes of downtime?
No, I have to immediately shower. In fact, we have and it'll be a good thing. We have our whole entire NBA staff, including athletic management, is in Vegas. So there's a boardroom with about 50 people that I'll be spending the next 8 hours in.
All right. Well, while you're in the shower or in that meeting, get on Threads, dude. Download it. Just trust me on that. You're going to want to do that.
Sounds good. Sure. Whatever. I mean, Dave, you've never done me wrong.
Yep.
You got me on Snapchat. That thing never died.
All right. Well, drunk neighbor John is texting in quite a bit, wanting props for the buffet and his asada taco bar. There you go.
Oh, you gave it to him.
Yeah,
you did. The carne asada was fantastic. Chicken the day after was very good. He worked his tail off, and
that's awesome.
And then, I don't know if he had any fun. He was working the whole night, but yes, very good group.
Well, it really sounds like a great time, Sam. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Love you too, Dave.
Take care. We'll talk
Sam.
later. Sam from the Athletic in Vegas. We'll see you next week. Take care, brother.
See you guys.
See ya. That's Sam Amick. We'll take a break. When we come back,